Now, I think if you're watching this video, you understand why and how you place garrisons. But what if there's a secret and a beauty to this system that you have not yet fully realised yet, and is only something I have found out in a few games? As it completely changes the dynamic of conflicts surrounding strongpoints, as it forces the attackers to destroy the defending garrisons, and the defenders to defend their garrisons, leaving the strongpoint to feel like the stage for where the battle takes place. In an average game of Hell Let Loose, we run into a grim situation where the defenders have one lone garrison inside of the strongpoint. Now this is boring and leads to a slog for both teams, but what is fun is that it spreads the gameplay out into smaller pockets rather than the entire team going against each other, with each small pocket having influence over the other. The strategic necessary is that, everyone always argues for garrison diversity through grid squares, as necessary for flanks and map control, but the discussion ends there and does not go into how this change leads to more exciting gameplay for both attackers and defenders. We will look into two strongpoints on Stalingrad and Hurtgen Forest to show how garrison placements change a strongpoint's gameplay and makes it more unique and interesting as a result. Now, Stalingrad features the best strongpoint in this game without any room for debate, Pavlov's house. Now, in a normal game, what happens is that a garrison is placed between the two main buildings, with the Russians taking a defensive perimeter in the house itself. Now, the Germans normally lay siege from the northeast with a flanking force pushing through the south of the point. However, in this one game I had, there was a garrison just to the south and one to the northwest. This meant that the Germans could not lay siege without a quick response from the Soviets on the west. Thus, the Germans had to push through the small buildings to respond to that garrison, simultaneously with their South Army trying to respond to a group of Russians being proactive in defense and attacking to defend their southern garrison, as that one feeds into the defense of Pavlov's house itself. Thus, by switching the normal garrison, the gameplay surrounding those points dramatically switched and became more dynamic and interesting as a result. But let's expand on some of those concepts into one of my favourite rounds I had on this game. It was on Hurtgen Forest, and as the German defenders, we were defending Jacob's Barn with the US attacking from the Scar. The commander placed a garrison to the east and one just to the south about 75 meters from the barn. I was personally defending the east garrison with about 10 others, as the US built a garrison to the northwest of the barn about 250 meters out. There was a constant push and pull dynamic between our two garrisons, as they had to destroy ours to assault Jacob's Barn from the north, and we had to attack their garrison to wipe out any chance of an assault. How it impacted the game, interestingly, was that there were two separate battles on each side of Jacob's Barn, and so two wide fronts occurring simultaneously. As on the north side, the US had to maneuver east to take out the defenders pushing from the garrison, while also maintaining some pressure on Jacob's Barn, so any assault coming from that northwest position had to be split into two separate forces. Whilst attacking from the south against the southern defending garrison, therefore makes it more interesting as there are two smaller battles, or three or four arguably, that have a knock-on effect on each other. Now, to take it even further, have you ever run into a gameplay scenario where you're walking with your squad in the middle of nowhere, where you suddenly run into some enemy troops? The surprise and small skirmish leads to many consequences for each team. For the attackers, they have opened up a hole in the defenders' defense, and for the defenders, they have halted any future garrison placement, and secured that position, thus the knock-on effect.